Okay, what's going on? Vincent Rapisardi, BigBlueUnbiased.com. Thank you to those who've liked, commented, and subscribed. I appreciate you guys. I haven't done a video in a little while. It's still kind of the off season, so there really isn't that much going on. I'd like to talk about more things, but I also don't like just making videos for the algorithm or just to take the Google money. I'm not looking for that. We're gonna try and put out legitimate content, good stuff that we can talk about, and I don't want to just put out garbage. So whenever there's good stuff, we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about it in depth with some analytics and hopefully some very thoughtful conversations. But first, we have a sponsor, Manscaped.com. Remember, 20% off plus free shipping with that beautiful promo code. BBU, Big Blue Unbiased, BBU promo code, 20% off, and you get free shipping. They have the new Lawnmower 4.0. They have the Weed Whacker that shaves your nose hair, your ear hair. You know, a lot of people I see sometimes in the comments are like, man, he keeps talking about this thing that shaves your balls. Well, it doesn't just do that. You can go to manscaped.com and look at other products as well. They have face razors, very nice face razors. I have one. My dad has one. And I think that you should get one too. Just a suggestion. And use that promo code BBU for 20% off and you get free shipping with it. So that's that. Okay, so Giants football. Again, really not much going on in Giants football at this point because there is no football. We're just in kind of that limbo stage. But what is kind of interesting is their offensive line situation. We saw that David DeCastro, the longtime Pittsburgh Steeler, was recently released, former Pro Bowler. He played 13 games last year, and you look at the numbers, he didn't allow a sack. Sacks are sometimes subjective. I talk about that. I talked about that a lot last year. We talked about that going into the 2020 season, specifically with Nate Solder, who's now back, but he didn't play last year. And we had that discussion a lot with Nate Solder. I had that on Twitter, a big beef on Twitter with Nate Solder and the sacks that he gave up. I did a video on it, and I said a lot of it had to do with Daniel Jones holding onto the football, being a rookie quarterback in 2019. That led to a lot of sacks given up by Nate Solder. I didn't think he had an amazing year by any means, but it certainly is. He was an average player. I don't know what he's going to be after not playing for an entire year. But before that, I thought he was fine at left tackle. Although a lot of people don't agree with that. You look at his pass block win rate, it was average in 2019. I think that he's a fine left tackle. I don't know what he's going to be in 2021 because he hasn't played this past year. But whatever, that's another conversation. So David DeCastro did not allow a sack. He allowed 2 quarterback hits last year and 11 pressures. Not bad. His efficiency, pass blocking efficiency, according to Pro Football Focus, was around over, actually, 97%. So pretty good. And, you know, this is a conversation I had many times last year. There were certain players that would hit free agency, veteran offensive linemen, and a lot of people would be like, Giants need to sign him. Giants need to get him. No, get him. Go, go, go. And I'm like, I don't know if they should do that because you want to let some of these young players develop. And that was last year. But this year, they're in the win now mode. They got to start winning. It's not just about development. It's not just about slow improvement here or there. That time is kind of run out for most of these guys, especially Gettleman. And I think if Joe Judge doesn't win this year, it'll be Joe Judge as well, where time will be running out. No matter how much you like him, you need to win football games. That's how it goes. And the same thing with Dave Gettleman. That's the conversation I've had many, many times. With Gettleman, a lot of people say, but his record. And I say, I get it, but they were trying to rebuild. Last year, they took some steps forward. And look, I'm in agreement. They need to win. They need to start winning some football games. This is the year they need to at least win 9 football games and make the postseason. I think the playoffs is what they should be aiming for this year. And anything short of that is going to be a disappointment. Either way, unless they're just hit with so many injuries and it just puts them in a position where they can't compete. They should be competing for the playoffs and in the playoffs this upcoming season. So a player like DeCastro, if you can add him to your offensive line, go for it. Remember, they were not a very good pass-blocking offensive line last year. Their pass-block win rate was one of the worst in the NFL. That's with a young offensive line. Let's take that into account. But do you just want to go into the season and say, well, hopefully they all step up? I don't know. I mean, you could, but at the same time, you want to make sure Daniel Jones is in the best position possible. And you already went out and you used the first-round pick on a wide receiver. You went out and you signed a star wide receiver in Galladay, and you have Kadarius Toney. So you spent legitimate assets, giving legitimate assets on the offensive side of the football to give Daniel Jones some playmakers. Why not go all the way? Why not add another piece to your offensive line, a veteran piece? We saw what Logan Ryan did to the Giants' defense, a late addition to their roster, a veteran player, and he played very well, and he earned himself a nice 3-year contract extension. Maybe a player like DeCastro does that for the Giants. Obviously, it seems like he can still pass block fairly well, and that's kind of the main thing that you'd want to see from an offensive lineman in this day, in this NFL era. They obviously signed Zach Fulton. They have Shane Lemieux, who could play guard as well. So they have some options there, but I think DeCastro would be the better option. And if they're really going all out trying to compete, you give yourself another really nice option. You have Andrew Thomas, who started to play better towards the end of the season. Will Hernandez, he's a very good run-blocking guard, and he struggled in pass protection, but I think he's still at least an average player. I know you want more out of him. I understand that. Second-round pick, I get it, but I think at this point he's at least an average startable player. Nick Gates seems to be at least at this point an average startable center. And if you add DeCastro and you have Parrott or Solder at right tackle for this season, I think it's an offensive line that has some really nice potential. I think it could be a good group. And that's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. At least be good or average. I know that's maybe something you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear average. You want to hear, whoa, all these picks and all this money spent on the offensive line here and there. You want to see it be great. But I don't think it needs to be great. I think it just needs to be improved from last year and at least be average. Give Daniel Jones an average offensive line with the weapons that he has, and you could see big things happen with their offense in general, and you could see them score some points. We haven't seen them do that in many, many years, probably since 2015. So that's that. I would go out and I would look for a player like DeCastro on your offensive line. I would be all in for that if I were the Giants.